Hi, I'm Alex with Glass Factory, and we're here with Royal The Serpent, and we're gonna chat today about some music and mental health in quarantine. So, thank you so much for
Yes.
joining. And to start off this combo, when did you start writing music? How has your relationship with music changed over the years, especially throughout the past year?
I started writing music when I was a young teenager. I got my first guitar when I was 14 years old for Christmas, and I've been writing music ever since then. But my relationship to writing music has changed so drastically over the past year. I've really fallen in love with it again for the first time since I was a kid. I think having music be my career, it was easy to like lose the magic. And I think spending so much time in isolation and really falling in love with listening to music again changed my relationship with it in such a beautiful way. Like getting back into sessions has been so therapeutic, and I like love what I do again for the first time in a long time, which is such a blessing.
Did you do a lot of Zoom write sessions throughout the quarantine time where it was a little more isolated?
I actually did not. I did a couple like here and there, maybe like two or three, but I found it really hard to connect to people virtually in that way. And so I kind of took some time off from writing. And I just started getting back into it at the end of last year. But I've written so much, honestly, that I feel like the time off was kind of needed.
Do you
Hmm.
feel like, well, during that time off, was that when you were listening to more music and like falling
Yeah,
again?
big time. I wasn't really listening to music unless I was doing it for research, like previously before quarantine. And I was listening to music that sounded like music that I thought I was supposed to make, as opposed to just listening to music because I love it. And
Mhm.
I think getting to spend all of that time, there was a couple albums, like the Dominic Fike album really changed my perspective on a lot because I think he did such a good job of genre bending. And that came out during quarantine, and that I listened to that front to back like, oh my gosh, so many times. But it was just nice. It was nice to like also fall in love with some of those oldies, like that early 2000s music, and just like feel that nostalgia, and like bringing that back into what I'm making now has been really fun.
You really draw a lot of inspiration from Kurt Cobain. How did you discover his music? Like, what happened?
What was the first time I heard Nirvana? Oh my gosh. I honestly, I have no idea. I feel like it's just always been like a given, like a known. He's been like around forever. I don't know. I mean, he was played a lot in my house growing up, and I think just the grunge scene, that 90s grunge scene, like is so iconic, and it's been really fun to like pull inspiration from him. Everything about who he is and like what he did for music has always sort of had an effect on me, and I've always felt like really connected to him. And I don't know, he was like my idol growing up.
You described some of quarantine's effects and the impact and importance of prioritizing mental health in your hit single Overwhelmed, but how has it slash being in isolation impacted you and your craft throughout the past year?
It's really funny, like I wrote Overwhelmed before quarantine, and Overwhelmed was originally about being overstimulated, being in crowds and being around people. And so I sort of found that all of the time in isolation for me was really helpful for my mental health because I wasn't so overstimulated, and I didn't have to sort of deal with all of this social anxiety that I was suffering from. And it's been like slowly getting back out into the world that's been hard on my mental health. And it's been something that I've been like really working on in therapy now, more so than even in quarantine. I mean, mental health is just so important, and I feel like it's important to talk about. But yeah, I've been really struggling more so now than I even was last year. Getting back out into the world has been really trying. Social anxiety is such a commonality, I think, too. And with all of the time that we spent alone, it's going to take a lot of adjusting, like getting back to being surrounded by people again. It's really overwhelming.
Are you by any
Mhm.
chance one of the people who during quarantine caught wind of the don't check your social media before you get your day started? Like, do you check your phone or not? Because the past couple weeks I started doing that, and that's definitely changed my outlook a lot. And I'm wondering, like, what do you think of how even something like that impacts just the stimulus of modern technology and communication.
It's that you doing that, it's such a good habit to get into because it really is a bad habit to check your phone first thing in the morning because it's super toxic. And for that to be the first thing that our brains like soak up first thing in the morning, it's a bad habit that I really have tried to kick. Sometimes like I'll try to even put my phone in another room, but it's an addiction. Like I'm addicted to my phone. It's something that I really want to work on because I think it has a huge effect on my mental health.
What are your 3 favorite ways to disconnect?
I think like taking my dogs to the park and just like leaving my phone at home. I did that the other day. I was like, I can't find joy anywhere. Where is joy? I put my phone down. I took my dogs to the park and I just like chilled with them there, played ball, like watched the sunset. And it was amazing. Also working out, just like being physically active in whatever capacity. Like it doesn't have to even be a really hard workout, just moving your body a little bit is one of like the best things that for me personally I can do for my mental health.
I think that is super important too, because like even if you do your 10,000 steps of walking a day or something like that, it's so good for you to just be physically active. When did you start writing music centered around mental health and its impact on you and your journey?
I've just sort of always written about whatever I was going through at the time. And so when I wrote Overwhelmed, it just kind of came out naturally because I was experiencing so many panic attacks and like going to all of these shows and all of these bright lights and people and crowds were just so overstimulating to me that it was just like all I knew to say. I found that that's kind of where my music comes from is when like whatever I'm hyper focused on at the time in my life is what comes out. And I didn't really have any idea how relatable it would be. I had no clue that I wasn't alone in like those things I was feeling.
What was the driving force behind starting to expose that part of yourself, such as like vulnerability to the public? Like, was it just natural to you that like art was the way?
Yeah, I've always really wanted to just show people who I am, the struggles that I'm going through, so that people don't have to feel alone in whatever they're going through. It's always sort of been something really important to me in my art is honesty and vulnerability, because I think it allows people to do that for themselves too. I know how it feels to hear a song that is so relatable and makes me feel heard. And if I can give that to people, like that's the greatest gift, like for me, is to be able to give that to people.
Music is definitely one of the most universally connecting mediums, I think, because even if you don't speak the same language, if you hear a song, you can typically like get at least 3 ideas of what's going on.
Totally.
Looping back to your inspiration with Kurt Cobain, I'd love to hear more about that influence, especially in the creation of your newest EP, Searching for Nirvana.
Searching for Nirvana is sort of like a play on words because Nirvana just in general is like a huge inspiration in my music, but Searching for Nirvana, the project that I have coming out this week, is really like a journey of me searching for happiness, searching for enlightenment, searching for joy. And it's like a story that sort of takes you through my mental state as the songs are being written, going from a song like Fuck You, which is me telling myself in the mirror how much I hate myself, all the way through this journey to where like at the end I can finally say, I'm not going to be that person anymore and I'm going to choose to be happy. So it's got like dual meaning.
There's definitely a reference between the Tranquility verse and the correlation between like Kurt Cobain and his band. That being said, do you have your own specific definition of Nirvana? Is it what you were getting at there with how the whole project is you coming to this like mental release?
I think to me, Nirvana is like bliss, joy, even contentment. I don't think that I've fully found it yet. I'm still working on it. But in moments when like the world feels still or like everything feels like I can breathe easy, that to me is Nirvana. Just in like moments when I can find a little piece of joy, that's Nirvana to me.
What do you have planned next for your music journey?
I have so much music that I'm so excited to share. I've been writing so much over the past few months, and it's definitely taking a little bit of a turn from some of the stuff that you guys have heard so far. So definitely, I think next month we'll be putting out a couple of really cool new things that are really left of what I've been doing, but I'm really excited.
It's so exciting. I can't wait to hear everything.
Thank you. Yeah.
How can people best support your projects?
Just listen to them. I guess if you want, if you like them, if they mean something to you, share them with your friends, blast them on in the car, have a good cry, whatever. I just want people to like listen if they like it.
Any final words you want to add?
No, I'm just really, really grateful that I get to make music, and I hope that some of it resonates with people. And if it does, that's like the biggest blessing that I could ask for.
Thank you so much, Royal The Serpent, for joining us today. It's been so nice to talk to you, and be sure to check out her new EP, Searching for Nirvana.
Thank you so much for having me.